Well, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, guys. Welcome to our October PAC event. I'm Jocelin. I'm one of the project managers here at Texas A&M, and today's event is going to be a good one. And like I mentioned earlier, today's event is being recorded and will be shared on YouTube later. And again, we're going to change it up. So we usually have the chat box available, but today we want you to put, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A little section. There should be a box in our little Zoom feature, and then we will answer them there. Whatever we don't answer, we can either email you or follow back up on the dog park. But yes, put them all there, and we will answer them in the Q&A as well as some live if possible. Now, today's event is going to be such a good one. We'll cover the importance of clinical trials and how you can help spread the word about our clinical trial called TRIAD. Now, Dr. Jake Ryave is here and Harmony Diers. They're going to be here to come talk about this presentation. And really quick, hi Jake, we're going to get quick shout out to my people behind the scenes. Susan, Adeseli, and Addison are behind the scenes answering those Q&As. So again, put all those questions. Now, our first presenter is on, and he is one of our vet fellows at Texas A&M University. And today he will discuss, again, like I mentioned, the importance of clinical trials and give a brief overview of our clinical trial, TRIAD. So Jake, welcome. And when you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. Thank you all for coming. Can everyone see my screen? Jocelyn,
Yes.
can I Great.
Yeah.
Like Jocelyn mentioned, we're going to talk about clinical trials, as a whole, and then talk about our clinical trial, which is called TRIAD. And so the first part here, we're going to go over clinical trials in general. And so in medicine, what kind of studies exist? There's two main types, and there are a number of different types of trials, but the two main ones that we talk about in medicine are observational trials and clinical trials. And so observational trials are going to be studies where you purely observe your participants, whether it's humans or animals. There's no interventions, no medications or devices or treatments that are performed. It's purely monitoring these subjects in their normal settings, in their normal lives to try to answer questions. And so one example that I always think about is looking at something like the prevalence of lung cancer in smokers versus non-smokers. Obviously, in a study, we're not going to go out and ask 50% of the participants to go smoke a pack a day and then ask the other ones not to. They will enroll people and say, these people smoked, these people didn't. What is the difference in the amount or types of cancer that they might get? Then on the other hand, there's a clinical trial, and often these are discussed as interventional trials. And so this is the kind of study where we intervene, we do something to these participants, give them a medication, use a new medical device, try an experimental treatment. And the question is, if we intervene, if we do something, what changes occur? Do they feel better? Do they live longer? Are they happier, healthier? And an example of that, which is what we'll be talking about today, is our clinical trial, TRIAD. So how do clinical trials work? At its most basic, there are normally two groups, the experimental group and the control group. The experimental group gets whatever intervention, medication, device, treatment that you're trialing, and the control group does not. All of the participants, the people or animals who enroll, are going to be randomly put into one of these two groups. The hope in the end is that both of these groups will be as similar as possible. And the reason that we want that is so that in the end, when we have all of our data and we have all of our outcomes, we can more confidently say that it is most likely that the thing that we did, the intervention, the medication, is what caused the change that we saw. And the best way to do that is to try to control for all of the different variables, age, sex, health status, anything that might affect these two groups and make them different, we want to try and control. And so what is the timeline of a clinical trial? There are four main phases. The exact time frame of each of them is different for every trial, but the four main phases are as follows. Phase one is very early on, looking at a very small group of people or animals, trying to figure out, is this treatment safe? And if it is, what is the appropriate dose or safe dosage that we can use? Phase two, once we get through phase one, assuming that it is safe and effective, we move on to phase two. The group of participants becomes larger. We further evaluate efficacy and safety. And then assuming that goes well, and we say it's still safe and it's still efficacious. It does what we want it to do. Phase 3 expands it even further, even larger group, more diverse populations. And this is the phase where we start comparing the new treatment with old treatments. You can think about, say, there's a new pain medication, and we find out in phase 1 and phase 2 that it's safe and it helps with pain. Phase 3 is where you might give half of your participants Advil and half of them the new medication and try to figure out, is this new medication better? Is it safer? Does it do the same amount of pain control as Advil, but maybe it's safer for people that have an underlying disease? Anything that shows that there is a true benefit to this new treatment is going to happen in phase 3. And assuming a treatment or an intervention of any sort makes it through phase 3, often that's where FDA approval for that product will occur. And then after that, phase 4 happens. And that's where we get into these really long-term, sometimes lifelong studies, looking at populations across the planet, really diverse, large populations, studying long-term effects of these medications or these treatments. And so right now we are in phase 2 of our clinical trial. I think we have one more slide to talk about before we dive into what our trial specifically is. And that is, why participate in one? And so there's a number of different reasons. And I think the main ones that I like to look at are these 4. One is you get to help contribute to medicine, not only for yourself, but for others now and in the future. Being a participant in these trials adds information, adds data, teaches us more about whatever treatment we're looking at. And it can really help not only you, but people in the future who might need this treatment. It can allow for access to some experimental treatments. And in some situations, there are people that have kind of run the course of what treatment options are available. And there are experimental treatments that are only available in testing or in clinical trials. And so that's a way that people can gain access to treatments that they might not have access to yet. A lot of these trials will also offer long-term monitoring, long-term blood work, follow-up visits, imaging, whatever the case may be, throughout the trial period and sometimes after, at the cost of the trial. And so it's a good way for people who are dedicated to these trials to stay up to date on their body, their pets' bodies, and their health in general. And then not always, but some studies do offer financial compensation. I'm sure you've seen flyers out there or links online that say, we're looking for people of this age with this disease to enroll in a study. And if you do, we'll offer you $50, right? And that's always a nice little added benefit if that's possible for these studies. And so that's a very brief, very quick overview of what clinical trials might look like. And we'll spend the rest of the time talking about our clinical trial, which is called the Test of Rapamycin in Aging Dogs, or TRIAD for short. And so the big question always is, what is TRIAD? And TRIAD is known as a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial of the medicine rapamycin. We'll break this down part by part here. Rapamycin is a medication. The next slide will talk about exactly what rapamycin is, and then we'll talk about what it does. That's the medication that we are trialing. That is our intervention in this interventional trial. Placebo-controlled means that we are not comparing rapamycin to another medication, but we're comparing it to a placebo. And a placebo is essentially the other 50% of the dogs in our trial will get rapamycin, and 50% of them will get a sugar pill, essentially. It is a pill that has no biological activity. It doesn't do anything to them, but it is a way to make sure that we don't know which dog is getting which medication, and we can compare the effects of rapamycin to not getting any medication. Double blind is a way of describing who knows what medications are being given. And so because this is double blind, the double refers to us here on the research side, as well as you, the owner. Neither myself nor any of the doctors on the project, nor the owners involved in this study know if their animal, their pet, is getting rapamycin or placebo. Every dog will get pills that look the same, they're the same size, but half of them will be medicine and half of them will be sugar pill. The reason for this is to try and eliminate any bias in the study. When we evaluate these dogs, we look at a number of objective things. Blood work, which is, you can't really be biased about blood work, either it's normal or it's not. But when we look at other factors about aging, how happy they are, how well they're getting around, their mobility, their cognitive function. If myself or the owners involved in this study knew that their dog was getting rapamycin, that could create a bias where they say, well, I know my dog is getting the treatment. And, even if it's not a conscious thing, they might say, well, I think he looks better because he's getting it. And so we try to eliminate that bias by making this a double blind study. And I always like to describe it with our study. I think there's maybe two people that know which dog is receiving which. And the same way that there's that myth going around that only two people know the Coca-Cola formula and they can't fly together, just in case, are two people that know which dog is on which medication and very sensitive information. And so obviously we keep everyone safe in this trial, but I like to joke that we have to keep them extra safe. So what is rapamycin? This will be the most scientific slide in this presentation, and it's going to be very brief. So don't worry if you don't have a scientific or medical background. But you may know this medication as sirolimus. That's what it's known as in human medicine. And it is known as a macrocyclic lactone. That just describes the structure of the molecule, which you can see here as well. If that name sounds familiar, it's because a lot of our parasite prevention, heartworm prevention, can be macrocyclic lactones. Rapamycin doesn't do heartworm prevention, but it's the same basic structure. And so how does it work? In the body, it works by blocking this specific receptor called mTOR. And this receptor has functions that include affecting cell growth, cell reproduction, cell nutrient response, and cellular survival. And all of these have really, really big implications in the health, the life, and the death of cells, right? And we are all made of cells, us and our dogs, from head to toe, nose to tail. And so if we can affect how these cells grow and reproduce and survive, we might be able to affect how the body grows and survives over time. And so while in humans, rapamycin is primarily used as either a cancer treatment or to prevent organ transplant rejection, and that's used at a really high dose. In animals so far, it's primarily used as a research medication, and it's used at lower doses, and we found that in a number of different species, yeast, nematodes, which are a kind of worm, fruit flies, and mice, it has been shown to increase lifespan, so to lengthen their lives. And it's also been shown to increase health span. So what is health span? This is a term that you might not have heard before. Lifespan is simply the length of our life. When we're born to when we die, how long is that? Health span is the portion of our lives where we are healthy, where we are able to do our activities of daily living, taking care of ourselves, getting around on our own, being independent and being productive, if you will. And so in a perfect world, right, we always want to increase lifespan, but I think you would agree that not only for yourself and your loved ones, but for your pets, while it would be great if they lived forever, what's more important is that while they are alive, they are healthy and they are happy and they are able to be themselves and get around and take care of themselves, right? We never want to live and watch our pets or our family members live a life that isn't fulfilling or happy or healthy. And so health span is the period of time in which you are healthy during your lifespan. And so in mice, there have been studies with low-dose rapamycin that have shown increased health span, and they've measured that in a number of different ways that you can see here. Reduced incidence of cancer, reduced incidence of eye disease, improving cognitive function, muscle function, immune system function, and heart function. So all of these things that we think of when we get older, we start to lose these things or develop these diseases, right? Our muscles get weaker. We lose some of our cognitive abilities. Maybe our immune systems aren't as robust. In mice, it's been shown that rapamycin can slow down those changes and extend the period of time where we are healthy. And so the next question is, that sounds great, but is it safe? And so there are side effects with rapamycin, similar to any medication that you might think of. In humans, when using it at high doses for cancer treatment or organ rejection prevention, some of the side effects that they've seen are some blood work changes, elevation in triglyceride, which is a measure of fat in the blood, and elevated blood sugar, as well as things like mouth ulcers and skin issues. And although those are seen, when the medication is stopped in those humans, those do resolve and go away. In dogs, the side effects aren't as severe, especially since we're using a lower dose. We don't expect to see these severe side effects, but some dogs do develop a decreased appetite. They might vomit or have diarrhea. And in their blood work, they might have some elevation to their triglyceride or decreased platelet numbers. Platelets are used in the clotting formation. And again, these are also temporary. Not only are they mild, but they're also temporary in dogs. And so These big scary effects that we might see in humans, we have not seen in dogs. And one of the reasons is that we're using a much lower dose and a much less frequent dose. And so then we know that it's safe and we know what it might do. So what are our goals? As far as our enrollment goal, we're hoping to get 580 dogs total in our trial. Right now, we are at just under 200, so we have a ways to go. But the endpoints, our objectives as far as our lifespan and health span, the primary objective is to determine, does this medication increase lifespan in our pets? Do the dogs that get rapamycin live longer than the dogs who don't? The secondary endpoints are to look at health span. Can we reduce age-related disease burden? Can we improve cognitive function? Can we decrease the prevalence of heart disease by giving rapamycin? All of these health span endpoints that I talked about in the previous slide. And so this all sounds great, and you might be wondering which dogs can get into this trial. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the big goals is to try to make sure both groups are as equal as possible, to try to make sure that there are no things that can confound our results and make sure that we have the best chance of finding a true effect of rapamycin. And so there are some strict inclusion criteria to make sure that we can even that playing field. And if you want to know more about these after I talk about them, this blog post that's mentioned here is on our website, and we can provide a link to that, and it goes into why we've chosen these criteria. So the main criteria for inclusion to our study are that these dogs have to be at least 7 years of age. They have to be a medium to large breed dog between 44 and 121 pounds. They have to be spayed or neutered, in good health in general, and then they have to be in good temperament. And the reason for that is they're going to be doing a lot of visits to these clinical trial sites, and we want to make sure that they can get all of the testing that's needed done without needing sedation or without any aggression that might put your pet, the trial participant, or the site, the doctors, the nurses that are helping out at any risk, obviously. And so let's say a dog gets enrolled. What does that mean for them? And so the study is 3 years long. From time point 0 to 36 months, they'll visit a clinical trial site every 6 months, and that comes out to 7 visits total. When they're in the trial, they have to be kept on a heartworm preventative, and they also have to be up to date on their vaccines. And then besides their 6-month visits, for the first year, they'll receive a medication once a week, and that will either be rapamycin or the placebo medication. After the first year, they will not receive any more medication. They will simply be observed at home and at their 6-month visits to see how they are doing over time. There is some evidence that rapamycin might have a longer-term benefit than just when they're getting the medication, and so that's what that last 2 years is hoping to find. And then in the meantime, when they're not at a site, when they're not at their visit, they live their normal life. They eat their normal food at home. They go to the dog park. They go swimming. They go to doggy daycare. Whatever they do on a normal day-to-day basis, they continue to do. And all that the owner needs to do is fill out surveys about every month to let us know and keep us updated about their health. And then there's some activities that they do at home as well to look at cognitive function, to look at mobility. And so the benefits of joining TRIAD, a lot of these are very similar to what we talked about before. You'll be contributing to really exciting cutting edge research, right? This idea of health span and lifespan is very, very prominent both in veterinary and human medicine. And so not only are you going to be contributing to research now, but also to research in the future and helping dogs in the future. Each individual dog has a 50% chance of receiving rapamycin. And so there is a chance that they will receive a benefit to their individual lifespan or health span. Every 6 months at these visits, they will have really thorough, in-depth evaluations by veterinarians looking at either cardiologic function or neurologic function, as well as really in-depth blood testing and physical examination. And so at the very least, you will be fully up to date, very in-depth about your pet's health and understanding any issues that might arise as they age during the trial. And then last but not least, they get love. They get attention and treats and belly rubs. Our trial site here at Texas A&M, as well as every site across the country, is really excited to be part of this research. And we are really, really excited to develop strong bonds with you and with your pet. We want these visits to be stress-free, pain-free. We want them to be as happy as possible. And so one great way to do that is to make sure that they're happy while they're here. And that includes a lot of treats and a lot of love during their visits. We want it to be a really good experience for everyone involved. So how can you get involved in Triad? If you want any more information than I provided today, the link to the website here, dogagingproject.org/triad, has all of the information you could ever need. And you're also more than welcome to get in contact with us to ask any questions you might have. But there's a number of different ways to get involved. The most direct way to get involved is to potentially join the trial. And so if you're here today and you're not yet a member of the Dog Aging Project, if you have not enrolled in what we call the DAP Pack, you can do two things. One, you can take the TRIAD Rapid Eligibility Assessment. It's a short questionnaire on our website at dogagingproject.org/triad that asks a number of questions that look specifically at those enrollment criteria that get you through the first step of enrollment screening and say, yes, your dog fits these criteria, and now we can move you on once you enroll in the DAP Pack to the more in-depth evaluation. Or it will say, maybe your dog is too young or not the right size, and we're sorry that you can't enroll in Triad. But either way, we would love to have you in our DAP Pack as a whole, and that's our longitudinal study. We currently have over 50,000 dogs enrolled in the Dog Aging Project as a whole, and we're always looking to enroll more. And so whether or not any individual dog, your dog is eligible for Triad, we are always happy to have them as a member of the DAP Pack. If you're already a member of the DAP Pack and you've already enrolled your dog, that means that we have already screened your dog for Triad. Every dog that enrolls in the DAP Pack immediately or automatically gets screened by our team. And so if you're a DAP Pack member and you already have a DAP Pack number, that means you have been evaluated for Triad. And if we haven't reached out to you about it, that does mean, unfortunately, your individual pet is not eligible. And so if you haven't heard from us about it, but you're a member, there's no need to do that questionnaire, that eligibility assessment. As well, if your dog is in another cohort, whether that's the precision cohort, the centennial cohort, or the foundation cohort, every dog is only eligible to be in one cohort. So if they're already in one of those, if any of those names sound familiar to you and you thought, oh, that's my dog, unfortunately, that means that your dog is also not eligible for Triad. Does that mean you can't help, though? Absolutely not. There are a number of different ways that you can support this work and support this trial specifically. And the best way to do so, if your dog isn't eligible, is just by spreading the word. This map here shows in blue all of the states that have a clinical trial site. And if the state isn't blue, that doesn't mean that you can't join the clinical trial. We do have some very dedicated owners that have driven across state lines to go to their clinical trial site. But at the very least, spreading the word is extremely helpful. Whether you're at the dog park and you let people know that you heard about this, although I might be biased, very cool trial that's going on, talking at your veterinarian's office, just talking to your friends that have dogs and letting them know, hey, maybe you should see if your dog's eligible, especially if you live in one of these states, will really help us reach our enrollment goal and really help us understand better what this medication does. And again, if you're not in one of these states or not eligible for Triad, just joining the DAP Pack, if you haven't already, is extremely helpful to us too. And so we are always happy to have everyone involved that wants to be involved. And like I said, if you're not already a member and you'd like to take that eligibility assessment, dogagingproject.org/triad is a great way to get started. And hopefully we can add you to the trial. And if not, just add you to the DAP Pack as part of our team. And I think that's everything I have for you today.
Thank you, Jake.
Of
Exactly.
course.
Exactly what Jake said. If you're not a part of the pack, we're always looking for more people. So you can enroll at dogagingproject.org and then you can check out the Triad page, which there's a button on top and that you can go to the main tab and go find it. You can go anywhere to find the Triad eligibility, but it's all on our website. So yes. And then speaking about spreading the word, we're going to get our next presenter on, which is Harmony Diers, who's our study participant manager. She'll be presenting on how you can help spread the word about this. Because again, we're always looking to add people to our study, and we're particularly looking for more people in our clinical trial. So, Harmony, when you're ready, take it away.
Thank you, Jocelyn, and thank you, Jake, for that great overview on Triad. So, one of the biggest reasons that the Dog Aging Project has been so successful is because of you, our supporters, our participants, and our canine participants that are enrolled. And we thank you so much. And to quote the very successful businessman George Shin, you will reach your goals only with the help of others. And that's what you have made possible for us. So thank you. And along the way, we have learned that the number one way people tell us they've heard about the Dog Aging Project, and the number two way people have heard about Triad is from a friend or a personal referral. So people are talking about us. By telling others about the work we're doing, you have a positive impact on helping the study grow, which means we learn a lot more about how to help our doggy friends live healthier, happier, longer lives. But we are not done recruiting. We need more dogs in the project, and we definitely need more participants in the Test of Rapamycin in Aging Dogs or TRIAD clinical trial. While you may not be near one of the TRIAD clinical sites that we mentioned, sharing information and asking others to share this information means that all of this important sharing of the information gets to many people who may actually live near a TRIAD clinical site. And we always want more people to enroll in our general PAC study as well. There is no limit to the number of dogs that can be in the DAP pack, our longitudinal study. And so there are lots of ways that you can help raise awareness of the Dog Aging Project and Triad as well. You can take information to your vet or stop by other veterinary offices and share. You can drop off information at local dog-related businesses, post information on community bulletin boards, share our information on your social media or in dog-related social media groups. Share podcasts, articles, and our newsletter with your contacts. Attend a local event and chat about us. Talk with everyone you know who has a dog. And we do have resources available to help you share. And those, and some of those include, we have on our website, we have the Dog Aging Project Proud Supporter logo, the Dog Aging Project website with downloadable resources, including volunteer checklists, ideas on how to share the information, including flyers to put on bulletin boards, or again, take to your local vet clinic or dog-related events, social media posts, newsletter articles, and blog templates, volunteer checklists with ideas on how to share information. All those resources are available for you. And if you do have any other ideas or suggestions about activities in your community, we definitely want to hear from you. And you can email us at partner@dogagingproject.org. And finally, we want to take this opportunity to thank our national partners who have helped raise awareness about the Dog Aging Project by sharing information. There's a big number of them here. We also have many generous local and regional organizations and businesses who have shared the information in their communities, but there are so many we couldn't list them all here. We definitely appreciate their support and welcome everyone's help in raising awareness about the Dog Aging Project. And please remember how much we appreciate you. Now, get out there and spread the word. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harmony. Speaking about helping spread the word, you can go to our website at Project Resources. That's where we have our flyers, our documents, our volunteer checklists. We keep adding different resources that you can share. And what we're doing a little different, because every PAC event, we do a little prize giveaway. We usually have you go to the dog park and enter a comment. This time, we want you to either share one of our resources. You can take a picture and tag us on social media, or you can share it. If you're putting it on a bulletin board, you can take a picture and email us or post it on the dog park, and that will put you in the running for the prize giveaway where we give some awesome Dog Aging Project swag. So go spread the word. We love you. Thank you so much for all your help. And I do see a question in the Q&A about listing the clinical sites. We don't list the clinical sites for privacy reasons, but we do have it on the state. So if you're in one of those areas and then if you are eligible for the Triad, you will then be provided with lists of sites. We just want to make sure that when you're going, trying to figure out if you're eligible for Triad, that you go through us and not through the site itself. So, good question. And that's the other question I saw someone else answered. So thank you, Jake, for answering that question. If you have any additional questions, you can please answer them here. if anyone else. We'll leave a little Q&A box open for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. But yes, when we do that, I guess, let me see, can I share my screen? Or Susan, can you go to the project resources page just to give an overview? If you haven't been to it, let's show you how to get there. Thank you. So that is our page. You can get it by clicking on the media tab on top of the navigation bar and hitting project resources. And then there you go. We have all our flyers, and you'll see the name of the title, whether it's just for General Dog Aging Project or for Triad. Same thing for social media. We have 2 different social media posts for Triad, but we'll be adding there. And then we have some blog templates for those who like to write blogs. We have a few posters and, of course, some checklists. So Betsy, a quick shout out. I know she's on right now. She is our participant and not participant. I'm butchering your title, Betsy. Let me get it correctly. Betsy's title is our partnership and recruitment lead, and she has worked on these resources to get it out there. She's doing an awesome job. So we're always adding to this, and so you can always spread the word. So again, if you want to enter in that prize giveaway, just spread the word. You can tag us on socials, share a picture on the dog park, or email us at team@dogagingproject.org. I do not see any additional questions. So with that, we're going to wrap up today's event. Thank you again to everyone. A huge thank you to Jake and Harmony. We really appreciate you presenting today. Hopefully everyone found today's event helpful. And again, today's event will be posted on our Dog Aging Project YouTube channel. So keep an eye out. We will post it there. And for any future questions, you can always email us at team@dogagingproject.org. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye guys.